I think they need someone to kind of steady the ship and let the players know that it's actually the manager who runs the club. Jose going in there with the personality he has.
Real Madrid may have just undergone the most consequential transformation in world football, and the irony is that Barcelona are the ones who made it happen. Consider the full sequence of what unfolded. Barcelona claimed back-to-back La Liga championships. They defeated Madrid in the Spanish Super Cup final. They clinched the league title against Madrid in the definitive Clasico of the season, standing on the pitch watching their biggest rival absorb the humiliation. They identified every weakness in Madrid's defensive structure, punished every imbalance, and exploited every gap until one of the sport's most storied clubs entered genuine institutional crisis. Carlo Ancelotti departed. Xabi Alonso arrived with significant expectations and left before the season reached its conclusion. Alvaro Arbeloa stepped in as interim manager to limp the campaign across the finish line. The dressing room fractured visibly. For the second consecutive year, Real Madrid completed a season without a single major trophy in their cabinet. And then the response arrived, and it arrived at a scale and with a coherence that should be making Barcelona genuinely reconsider what they have set in motion. Jose Mourinho has returned 13 years after his first chapter at the club. Marc Cucurella has been secured to address a left-back position that has felt unresolved for years. Ibrahima Konate and Denzel Dumfries have been brought in specifically to reconstruct the defensive architecture that Barcelona exposed so brutally.
Rashford for Barcelona. Oh! That is sensational!
Bernardo Silva, the exact midfielder Barcelona had been quietly pursuing for an extended period, is heading to Madrid instead. And somewhere in this rebuilt structure, Endrick returns from his loan at Lyon as a meaningfully different player from the raw prospect who departed. This is not the familiar Real Madrid pattern of collecting the most glamorous available names and expecting the talent to sort itself out. This is a club that looked at what Barcelona did to them, absorbed every painful lesson it contained, and responded with systematic and purposeful reconstruction, which is precisely why Barcelona may have spent the last 2 seasons engineering the most frightening version of Real Madrid that European football has witnessed in a long time. To understand the rebuild properly, you have to understand exactly how far things deteriorated, because this is not cosmetic renovation triggered by mild disappointment. Barcelona forced Madrid into genuine existential reckoning. They made Madrid confront what the team had become, and their reflection was genuinely uncomfortable for a club of that self-image and that history. Losing matches is something every club manages at some point. Losing the clarity of what you are as a football entity is a different and more corrosive problem. By the end of last season, the second of those problems had consumed Real Madrid entirely. 3 different managers across a single campaign. Ancelotti's departure created a vacuum that Xabi Alonso was supposed to fill with modern ideas and fresh tactical energy. But by January, he was gone, and the experiment had already reached its conclusion. Arbeloa completed the campaign as best he could, but the team arriving at the final match day no longer projected the identity of Real Madrid. They projected the confusion of an institution that had forgotten what it was supposed to look like. The evidence was visible and accumulative on the pitch itself. The talent had not evaporated. Madrid still possessed individuals capable of winning matches through sheer personal brilliance in moments, but the collective structure surrounding those individuals had softened to the point of transparency. The pressing lines were disconnected. The defensive backline could be isolated and targeted with uncomfortable ease. The wide channels had transformed from a platform for attack into a consistent liability. When matches opened up and expanded into space, Madrid were no longer the controlled and reliable machine that had dominated European football for extended periods. They were surviving through desperate recovery runs, emergency individual defending, and sporadic moments of brilliance from players who were essentially being asked to compensate through talent for what the team was failing to provide through organization. Barcelona identified this with clinical precision and punished it repeatedly. The Spanish Super Cup final in Jeddah delivered the first clear verdict. Barcelona won 3-2. Rafinha struck twice. Madrid had beaten Atletico to reach that final, so this was not a weakened side stumbling into the occasion by accident. But against Barcelona, the same structural problems emerged with the same regularity. When the game stretched and opened, Barcelona found cleaner routes into dangerous territory. Madrid could score, Madrid could compete. but sustaining control of the rhythm for the periods necessary to win the match proved beyond them. Then came the defining moment of the entire season, May 10th, 2026. Camp Nou, Barcelona 2-0. Real Madrid, the night Barcelona won the league title with their greatest rivals watching helplessly from the same pitch. Rashford struck early. Ferran Torres doubled the advantage before halftime. Madrid were not merely beaten on the scoreboard, they were beaten in the narrative of their own season, defeated by the club they most need to match at the moment of maximum symbolic consequence. The defeat crystallized the actual nature of Madrid's structural problem with absolute clarity. It was never a shortage of elite names. The squad contained more individual quality than most clubs assemble across a generation. The problem was that the team had ceased protecting itself intelligently, pushed the fullbacks into advanced positions, and the space immediately behind them became a running track. Pushed the midfield line higher and the back line was left exposed and isolated. Lose possession in attacking phases and the transition instantly became a crisis because the defensive recovery structure was not organized to manage it. Barcelona's wide players, their rotation patterns, and their pace and decisiveness in transition kept asking the same fundamental question of Madrid's shape: where is the cover? Too frequently, there was no coherent answer. The internal climate was not providing any additional stability either. The training ground incident involving Valverde and Tchouaméni added further evidence of a dressing room losing its cohesive structure. Read the details however you choose. The football conclusion is unambiguous. Mourinho is not inheriting a settled and harmonious squad. He is inheriting serious talent that urgently requires authority and clear direction, which is precisely why Florentino Perez's response was not another cautious, incremental adjustment. He brought Mourinho back. 13 years after the first chapter ended, the Portuguese manager has returned on a 3-year agreement running through 2029. That first spell was not always aesthetically comfortable. Few Mourinho periods ever are. But it was effective in the ways that ultimately matter most. La Liga, Copa del Rey, Spanish Super Cup. What Mourinho provided was not additional glamour in a squad that already had more than enough of it. He provided edge, structure, defensive organization, a team that opponents found genuinely difficult and uncomfortable to play through and around. That is precisely the brief again. Madrid do not need more star power or more headline-generating signings of attacking talent. They need to stop being so consistently and so easily penetrated. And that is the specific problem Mourinho was hired to address. The Cucurella arrival belongs in exactly that context. This is not Madrid, searching for the next great attacking left-back to provide romance and excitement in that position. This is Madrid attempting to bring genuine defensive reliability and positional discipline to an area that has felt unsettled since Marcelo departed years ago. The comparison to Marcelo is worth addressing directly and honestly. Marcelo was an exceptional creative force going forward. His contribution to Madrid's attack across his career was substantial and memorable. Cucurella operates on a completely different basis and serves an entirely different function. His value is concentrated in the details that do not appear prominently on highlight reels, but that determine whether a team is structurally sound or structurally vulnerable, intensity without possession, composure when pressed, recovery speed that compensates for positional risks elsewhere, and the tactical discipline to understand when defensive responsibility overrides the temptation to join the attack. Against a Barcelona side that converts a single poor fullback decision into a goal-scoring opportunity almost automatically through their speed and movement in transition, those specific qualities represent the difference between being exploitable and being organized. The right side addition through Dumfries serves a fundamentally different purpose. He is not a possession-focused fullback who circulates the ball smoothly in tight spaces. He is physical force, wide presence, and a direct attacking option that gives the team an outlet when opposition pressing becomes suffocating. Barcelona's defensive press is designed to compress teams into predictable patterns and force them into controllable channels. Dumfries provides the raw athletic profile to bypass that pressure rather than attempt to play through it, stretching backlines and offering a far post threat when central routes are blocked. Konate represents the specific center-back profile that Mourinho requires to make aggressive fullback positioning sustainable. physical dominance in aerial duels, genuine pace to cover space behind the defensive line, Champions League experience across multiple campaigns, and the one-on-one defensive ability to survive when the backline is left isolated by commitment forward. If Madrid push their defensive line higher and demand their fullbacks engage the opposition more aggressively in advanced positions, they need central defenders who can manage the space created behind them without requiring constant protection. Konate is built for exactly that demand. Look at the architectural logic of these three additions together, and the purpose becomes unmistakable. Cucurella provides the organizational reliability on the left that was missing. Konate provides the physical platform through the center that sustained aggressive play requires. Dumfries provides the direct athletic outlet on the right that breaks the press. This is not random spending triggered by the need to appear active in the market. This is targeted repair of identified weaknesses. And Barcelona should be reading each signing with the understanding that it directly addresses something they exploited last season. Then comes the signing that carries the most complex significance of the entire window: Bernardo Silva to Real Madrid. This one operates on multiple levels simultaneously. Bernardo was not simply available talent that Madrid identified efficiently. He was the specific player Barcelona had been actively pursuing for an extended period, a midfielder who fit their system precisely and who they had made genuine progress in recruiting. He was coming, the wages had been discussed. The pathway seemed to be leading to the Camp Nou in blue and red. And then Mourinho intervened personally. Madrid moved with unusual urgency. The deal flipped almost immediately after Mourinho engaged directly. The player Barcelona had been tracking for years walked through the door of the building next to them instead. This is not simply an excellent transfer. This is a statement delivered directly to the rival who spent 2 seasons establishing dominance. A statement that says Madrid have not only rebuilt their weaknesses, but have begun taking the resources and profiles that were supposed to make Barcelona even stronger. His profile at 31 is exactly what Madrid require in the specific area where they were most exposed. The statistics from his final Premier League season, 38 league appearances, 34 starts, 2 goals, 4 assists, do not leap off the page in the way that spectacular attacking numbers do. And that is precisely the point. Bernardo's value was never contained in the numbers the data sheets prioritize. His value is in what happens to a team's collective rhythm, composure, and decision-making quality when he is operating within the structure. He takes the ball under maximum pressure. He maintains possession in spaces that most midfielders find unmanageable. He slows a stretched game when slowing it is required and accelerates the tempo with a single pass when acceleration is the correct choice. He is the midfield intelligence that allows more individualistic talents to express themselves in better situations. Barcelona wanted exactly this quality: the maturity to stabilize a game when it wobbles, the experience to make the calm decision rather than the reactive one, the composure that transforms a collection of attackers into a team with genuine control. And Madrid fell apart against Barcelona last season in significant part because they lacked precisely this capacity. Plenty of talent, capable of winning matches in moments, but insufficient composure to manage matches intelligently through the periods when composure is the requirement. Mourinho's logic is entirely coherent. With Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Arda Güler, and Endrick providing attacking threat at the highest level, the questions are not about generating danger. They are about organizing the talent around a sustainable structure. Bernardo provides the connective tissue between midfield and attack that allows the individualists around him to function in better conditions. This makes the question of Arda Güler's development even more interesting than it was before. His 2025-26 campaign showed genuine progress. 4 goals, 9 assists, over 2,000 league minutes, 25 starts, a real step forward for a young player still establishing himself at the highest level. His left foot can alter an entire attacking angle with a single touch. But the risk of asking a player at that developmental stage to carry excessive creative responsibility was real. And Bernardo provides the senior experience alongside him. That means Arda can develop at his natural pace rather than being exposed prematurely. They can coexist productively, Bernardo recycling possession and providing the structural foundation while Arda looks for the incisive moments closer to goal. This is not luxury for its own sake, it is insurance that protects the young talent while maximizing what he actually offers. Then there is Endrick, and his situation represents one of the most genuinely significant decisions of the Mourinho era. The hype that accompanied his arrival was extraordinary, even by Real Madrid standards, but the club never quite established what his role within the team actually was. He produced flashes that justified the excitement, the pace, the aggression, the instinctive finishing, the willingness to shoot before the analytical part of the brain completed its assessment. But fragmented appearances without consistent rhythm prevented him from establishing himself as a genuine factor. The Lion loan provided what Madrid could not consistently offer: connected minutes with real responsibility. 5 goals and 7 assists in 1,222 league minutes. 12 direct contributions for a teenager still absorbing the demands of senior European football. But it is the assist number that reveals the most significant development. This is not a player waiting in the penalty area for service to arrive. This is a player actively involved in building attacks and linking phases, a player with expanded understanding of how to participate in the game's construction rather than simply its conclusion. Mourinho inherits a genuinely different player from the one who departed on loan, one with senior minutes accumulated, greater belief in his own judgment, and a broader range of contributions to offer. This creates a genuinely fascinating structural question. With Mbappé, Vinicius, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Arda, Bernardo, and Endrick all within the squad, the talent level is almost impossible to process rationally. But talent without hierarchy and clarity of role does not create a team. It creates competition for the same spaces and confusion about who serves which function in which phase of the match. Mbappé is most dangerous operating through the center. Vinicius is at his best on the left in space. Rodrigo provides flexibility but is not a natural striker. Bellingham arrives from deeper positions into the attack. Arda wants possession between the opposition lines. Bernardo connects everything around him. Endrick can potentially become the genuine number 9 that this squad actually lacks, a player whose profile does not duplicate what anyone else on the list provides. If Mourinho establishes that clearly and Endrick fulfills the potential his Lion loan suggested is genuine, Madrid may have already identified their next great striker without needing to return to the transfer market for another enormous investment. The broader message underneath all of these individual decisions is the most important element of the entire story. Madrid are not reacting to Barcelona in a panicked or disorganized way. They are studying what Barcelona exposed, identifying every weakness that was identified and punished, and addressing each one with specific and purposeful acquisitions. Cucurella addresses the left side. Konate addresses the central defensive profile. Dumfries addresses the right side's directness. Bernardo addresses the composure deficit. Endrick addresses the striker question. Mourinho provides the authority and organizational clarity that the talent requires. Barcelona spent 2 seasons establishing genuine superiority over their greatest rival. They beat them in finals. They won the league against them. They handed them the most detailed and honest analysis of their structural flaws that any opponent has provided in years. And Madrid used every lesson contained in that analysis to build something that could be significantly more difficult to dismantle than anything Barcelona have recently faced. The question is no longer whether Madrid improved in this window. That much is essentially beyond serious argument. The question is whether Barcelona, through 2 seasons of genuinely excellent football and genuine superiority over their rival, have done the one thing they most needed to avoid. Have they created the most dangerous Real Madrid we have seen in a very long time?